to my great good fortune, what was then generally conceded to be the best public high school in the United States in a suburb of Chicago. The school was called New Trier.
As Charlton Heston's remarkable life came to a close, the world was left with one final powerful statement. Known for his iconic roles and unwavering convictions, Heston's legacy spanned both the silver screen and the political stage. But in his final days, it was his personal words, uttered in the face of impending death, that would leave a lasting mark. These final words, spoken with the same intensity he brought to every role, gave insight into the man behind the legend. Join us as we explore the shocking final words from Charlton Heston, a true Hollywood icon. Early life, roots of resilience. Charlton Heston's remarkable journey from a small rural town to the heights of Hollywood stardom is one defined by perseverance, sacrifice, and an undeniable drive to succeed against all odds. Born on October 4th, 1923, in Wilmette, Illinois, Charlton's early years were marked by the struggles of his working-class family. His father, Russell Carter, worked at a local sawmill, while his mother, Lila Baines, played a pivotal role in raising Charlton and his siblings. Money was always tight, and they lived a modest lifestyle in a tight-knit, humble environment. Although Charlton's birth certificate listed his name as John Charles Carter, he often spoke about his origins being from No Man's Land, an unincorporated region that later became part of Wilmette. He would eventually adopt the name Charlton Heston in later years, a choice that rooted him to his maternal grandmother's lineage. In the early 1930s, when Charlton was just 10 years old, his parents' marriage ended in divorce, a significant event that marked a turning point in his life. His mother, Lila, moved the family back to Illinois, and soon after, she remarried a man named Chester Heston. It was through this marriage that Charlton adopted the name Heston, a change that symbolized his new family dynamics. Despite the tumultuous years that followed his parents' separation, Charlton's resilience began to take shape. As a young boy, he developed a deep love for the outdoors, spending much of his free time hunting, fishing, and exploring the natural world around him. This connection to nature would play an influential role in shaping his character, fostering an independence and a stoic nature that would define his later life. The early spark. Discovering the stage. Though life in rural Michigan was difficult and isolating, it was there that Charlton first discovered his passion for acting. As a student at St. Helens one-room schoolhouse, Charlton spent much of his time alone, relying on his imagination to craft adventures and stories. It was during his high school years at New Trier High School in Winnetka, Illinois, that Charlton's affinity for the stage blossomed into a serious pursuit. Initially, he found solace in theater, using it as a form of escape from the realities of his personal life. His performances on stage allowed him to transcend his everyday existence, and he soon realized that acting was more than just an outlet for creativity. It was his calling. As a teenager, Charlton earned the admiration of his teachers and peers for his talent and commitment. One of his early performances in a high school production of Peer Gynt showcased a promising, raw ability that caught the attention of those around him. While he also participated in sports, particularly football, acting became his true passion. The idea of becoming someone else, of embodying characters from different walks of life, appealed to Charlton in a way that no other pursuit could. By the time he graduated from high school, word had already spread of his potential, and he was awarded a prestigious scholarship to Northwestern University in 1941. At Northwestern, Charlton immersed himself in the world of acting, diligently honing his craft in various plays and productions. His scholarship was a stepping stone that allowed him to study with some of the best minds in the industry. During this time, the shadow of World War II loomed large, and the atmosphere on campus grew increasingly serious. Despite the growing tensions around him, Charlton remained focused on his future in theater and film. He worked tirelessly to refine his acting skills, taking on increasingly challenging roles that pushed him to grow as an actor. Love and War. A life shaped by sacrifice. Charlton's personal life took a significant turn when he met Lydia, a fellow acting student at Northwestern, in 1941. At the time, Charlton was 17 years old, full of ambition and idealism, while Lydia was a strong-willed, determined young woman who wasn't easily impressed by his early bravado. In fact, she initially thought he was arrogant. But over time, Charlton's relentless pursuit of her affection paid off, and the two became inseparable. Despite the challenges posed by war and the pressures of their careers, their love endured. In 1944, as World War II raged on, Charlton and Lydia decided to marry. Their wedding was a rushed, modest affair in Greensboro, North Carolina, with only 2 hours' notice. Lydia wore a lavender suit that cost her $50, a significant sum at the time, and a hat with flowers. Just 2 years later, in a display of the sacrifices they made for each other, Lydia sold her wedding suit and other personal belongings for $10 to buy Charlton a Christmas present. These small but profound gestures of devotion would shape their relationship for years to come. In 1943, Charlton enlisted in the military, answering the call to serve his country. As a radio operator and gunner aboard a B-25 bomber, he was stationed in the freezing, isolated Aleutian Islands, where he flew dangerous combat missions over northern Japan. The brutal weather conditions, combined with the constant threat of enemy attack, made every day a struggle for survival. Charlton's time in the military was marked by hardship, but it also instilled in him a profound sense of purpose. During one unfortunate incident, he fell on ice and was injured when an ambulance ran over him, leaving him in a wheelchair for a period. Despite his injuries, he was determined to continue serving, convinced that his mission would involve a massive invasion of Japan. However, when the atomic bombings brought the war to a close in 1945, Charlton, though saddened by the loss of life, admitted he was relieved that it spared him from potentially losing his own. From struggle to stardom. The road to Hollywood. After the war ended, Charlton and Lydia moved to New York City to pursue their acting careers. The transition to the big city was far from easy. They lived in a tiny, run-down apartment in a rough neighborhood, paying just $30 a month. With no hot water, they heated water on the stove for their baths, and they often found themselves struggling to make ends meet. Both Charlton and Lydia worked as artist models to support themselves, posing for students in art classes. There were many nights when they didn't have enough to eat, but they never lost hope. Their deep bond and unwavering support for each other sustained them through the tough times. It wasn't until 1947 that Charlton's big break in the theater world arrived. He landed a minor role in the Broadway production of Antony and Cleopatra, where he played the character of Procolius. The play, which starred famous actors like Katharine Cornell and Godfrey Tyrrell, wasn't the biggest of Charlton's career, but it was a stepping stone to bigger things. The production's success helped Charlton build his confidence as an actor and gave him the recognition he needed to move forward. In 1950, Charlton Heston's film career took off with his role in Dark City, a film noir that marked his transition to Hollywood. His casting in the film was serendipitous. Montgomery Clift, the original choice for the lead, dropped out just days before filming began. Heston's work on the film was grueling as the production faced budget cuts and numerous obstacles. Despite these challenges, Heston's dedication to his craft stood out. He insisted on performing his own stunts, even when it resulted in him cracking 2 ribs and dislocating his shoulder. He never let on about his injuries, fearing that it would delay production. His physical commitment added an authenticity to his performance that left an indelible mark on the film. Dark City was a success, earning $2.1 million at the box office. It marked the beginning of Heston's rise to stardom, but it was his next role, in Cecil B. DeMille's The Greatest Show on Earth, 1952, that solidified his place in Hollywood history. Heston's performance in the film, which involved a massive production with over 1,400 people, animals, and 85 train cars of equipment, showcased his physicality and commitment to his craft. During the production, he spent 3 months learning about circus life, working with performers and handlers. The experience was dangerous, with Heston even facing a lion that escaped its cage and a high-wire accident that left him dangling 40 feet in the air. Despite the grueling conditions, The Greatest Show on Earth grossed over $36 million and won the Academy Award for Best Picture, further cementing Heston's reputation as a leading man. Charlton Heston's role in The Greatest Show on Earth became a defining moment in his career, one that helped him gain recognition from both critics and audiences. However, the production took a toll on him physically, and he was hospitalized briefly due to dehydration. Looking back on his career, Heston credited The Greatest Show on Earth as the film that truly made him a star, paving the way for his iconic roles in epics like Ben-Hur and The Ten Commandments. The film solidified his status as one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, but it also marked the beginning of a string of larger-than-life roles that would come to define his career. Legacy and reflection. Heston's enduring influence. Charlton Heston's legacy extends far beyond his work as an actor. His career spanned decades, during which he became an emblem of strength, leadership, and determination. He became synonymous with powerful, larger-than-life roles, whether as Moses in The Ten Commandments or as the tragic hero of Ben-Hur. But beyond his acting prowess, Heston's life was shaped by the values of hard work, sacrifice, and love. Values that sustained him through the highs and lows of both his personal and professional life. Charlton Heston's influence on Hollywood and on the wider culture is undeniable. His activism, his leadership in the National Rifle Association, and his contributions to the civil rights movement helped shape the course of history in profound ways. Heston's legacy continues to resonate, reminding us of the enduring power of determination, faith, and an unyielding commitment to one's principles. Becoming Moses. Preparing for the Ten Commandments, 1956. In 1956, Heston's partnership with DeMille reached its pinnacle when he was cast as Moses in The Ten Commandments, a role that would become one of the most defining of his career. This was a bold casting choice, as Heston had limited experience with biblical epics, and the enormity of the role and film were unlike anything he had previously encountered. DeMille, however, was unshaken in his belief that Heston was the ideal actor to embody the legendary biblical figure. To prepare for this monumental role, DeMille sent Heston to live in the Sinai Desert for 6 weeks. There, Heston studied ancient Hebrew and immersed himself in the solitude of the desert landscape, hoping to channel the spiritual and physical qualities required for Moses. It was in this harsh, unforgiving environment that Heston gained a deeper understanding of the character, and the transformation began. Heston took his role so seriously that he insisted on growing his own beard and hair for the film, rejecting the use of fake facial hair to ensure that the portrayal would feel authentic and grounded. He was committed to every aspect of the role, both physical and emotional, determined to deliver a performance that would resonate with audiences for generations. The Ten Commandments became a cinematic landmark, not just because of its impressive scale, but also due to its extraordinary production values. At the time, the film's budget of $13 million was a staggering sum, making it the most expensive film ever made up to that point. The film's production was marked by its grandiose scale, with massive sets and thousands of extras. The famous scene where Moses parts the Red Sea was filmed not once, but twice. The first attempt ended in disaster when a camera malfunction ruined the shot, but the second time, DeMille and Heston would not be denied. The scene took an entire year to perfect, requiring more than 360,000 gallons of water to create the dramatic parting of the sea. It became one of the most iconic moments in film history. The production was not without its close calls either. While filming in Egypt, Heston had a near-death experience when a 1,000-pound stone prop fell and narrowly missed crushing him. In moments like these, Heston's resilience and his unshakable commitment to his craft were put to the test. Despite the immense physical and emotional toll, Heston's portrayal of Moses became a defining moment in his career. The Ten Commandments was a monumental success, grossing $122.7 million at the box office, an amount that would be worth over $1.2 billion today, making it one of the highest-grossing films of its time. Ben-Hur, 1959. The role that cemented Heston's legacy. Following the success of The Ten Commandments, Heston was once again tasked with portraying a legendary figure, this time in the film Ben-Hur, 1959. The film was an ambitious historical epic that took nearly a year to film and involved more than 50,000 people working on the production. Heston's commitment to the role was absolute, and he underwent a grueling transformation for the part. To prepare, Heston lost a significant amount of weight and trained for 15 weeks to master the art of chariot racing. This preparation was vital, as the famous chariot race scene would go on to become one of the most iconic sequences in film history. The chariot race was incredibly dangerous to film, requiring intense physical preparation. Heston performed many of his own stunts, including one particularly harrowing sequence where he was thrown from his chariot and almost trampled by the horses. In the aftermath of the accident, Heston suffered a dislocated jaw and torn ligaments, but he pushed through the pain, demonstrating his incredible work ethic and commitment to the craft. Despite the dangers, Heston's relentless pursuit of realism in his performances only added to the authenticity of his portrayals. Sadly, the film's production was marred by tragedy, as it was revealed years later that a stuntman had lost his life while filming the chariot race. This was kept a secret at the time, but the incident underscored the risks and dangers that came with such high-stakes filmmaking. Despite these challenges, Ben-Hur was a tremendous success, breaking records and earning a staggering $146.9 million at the box office, which would be worth over $1.4 billion today. The film went on to win 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Actor for Heston, cementing his place as one of Hollywood's most revered stars. The movie was so impactful that it even received mention from President John F. Kennedy, who referenced it in a speech on civil rights, further solidifying its cultural significance. In the wake of Ben-Hur, Heston's career continued to soar. He became known not just for his physical dedication to his roles, but for his ability to bring depth and gravitas to characters in a variety of genres. From epic historical dramas to gripping disaster films, Heston's versatility made him a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood. A new frontier, science fiction and action films. Though Heston had made his name in grand epics, his career took an unexpected turn with his role in Planet of the Apes, 1968. At first, Heston was skeptical of the film's premise, dismissing the idea of talking apes as silly. However, after a personal visit from the producer and reading the original novel, La Planète des Singes by Pierre Boulle, Heston was convinced to take on the role of George Taylor. This decision would go on to define his career in ways he had never imagined. The film shocked audiences with its unforgettable ending, where Heston's character, a stranded astronaut, discovers the ruined Statue of Liberty and realizes he has been on Earth all along. This twist was groundbreaking in cinema, and Heston's performance as the disillusioned, defiant astronaut became one of his most memorable. To prepare for the role, Heston immersed himself in the physicality of the character, studying the movements of primates to ensure his portrayal was realistic. His commitment to realism extended to the stunts, where he performed a daring 65-foot fall in a single take, showcasing his bravery and physicality. Despite the film's modest budget, Planet of the Apes became a massive hit, spawning sequels and cementing Heston's legacy in the science fiction genre. Though he only made brief appearances in the subsequent films, Heston was adamant about ensuring his character's demise. In the second film, he insisted that George Taylor should die and even suggested that Taylor blow up the entire planet with a doomsday bomb, an ending that gave the series a dark, unforgettable twist. Decades later, the original Planet of the Apes was inducted into the U.S. National Film Registry for being culturally and historically significant. The versatility of Heston. From disaster films to westerns, Charlton Heston's remarkable career spanned a wide range of genres. In 1974, he proved his ability to lead a disaster film with Earthquake, in which Los Angeles is torn apart by a massive seismic event. The film featured cutting-edge special effects, including a new sound system called Sensurround, which made seats shake in theaters to mimic the sensation of an earthquake. Heston, true to his style, performed many of his own stunts in the film, including wading through a flooded, debris-filled garage with live electrical wires. Despite the numerous injuries he sustained during filming, Heston persevered, and the film went on to become a major success, grossing millions and inspiring a wave of disaster films that followed. Heston also found success in the Western genre with films like Will Penny, 1968, where he portrayed an aging cowboy. For this role, Heston immersed himself in the cowboy lifestyle, spending time on a real cattle ranch and learning the intricacies of cattle herding. The film was a departure from his usual larger-than-life roles, giving him the opportunity to showcase his emotional depth as an actor. In The Mountain Men, 1980, Heston played a rugged trapper, refusing to glamorize the role and instead embracing the harsh realities of frontier life. The production was grueling, with Heston working in freezing temperatures and even suffering from hypothermia during filming. But for Heston, it was all part of his commitment to authenticity, the evolution of Charlton Heston's political views. Throughout his life, Charlton Heston was not just a man of action on screen, but also in the political and social arenas. In the 1950s and 1960s, Heston was an outspoken advocate for civil rights, a stance that set him apart from many of his Hollywood peers. At a time when racism was rampant and many in Hollywood remained silent on social issues, Heston took a bold stand. In 1963, he joined the historic March on Washington, walking alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and other civil rights leaders. Heston's participation in the march was a defining moment in his life, demonstrating his commitment to racial equality. Heston's dedication to civil rights continued throughout his career. He was involved in protests against segregated restaurants in Oklahoma City in 1961 and worked closely with Dr. King and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference to advocate for fair laws in Hollywood. Heston's actions in support of civil rights made him a rare figure in a time when many celebrities were reluctant to take a public stand. However, as the years passed, Heston's political views began to evolve. By the 1970s, he distanced himself from the Democratic Party, citing his belief that the party had moved too far to the left. He supported Richard Nixon in the 1972 presidential election, a shift that surprised many who had known him as a liberal. Over time, Heston became a prominent figure in conservative circles, eventually embracing the politics of Ronald Reagan. He became a vocal advocate for conservative causes, including Second Amendment rights, serving as president of the National Rifle Association from 1998 to 2003. Heston's political evolution was not without controversy, as it reflected the changing dynamics of American politics in the late 20th century. His transition from a staunch civil rights activist to a conservative political figure was emblematic of the broader cultural shifts of the time, and it served as a reminder of Heston's ability to adapt and evolve throughout his life. A legacy built on dedication, versatility, and conviction. Charlton Heston's life and career were marked by a relentless pursuit of excellence, a deep commitment to his craft, and a willingness to stand up for his beliefs. From his early days as a struggling actor to his rise as one of Hollywood's most iconic stars, Heston's legacy is defined by his versatility and his unwavering dedication to both his art and his values. Whether portraying Moses or an astronaut, a cowboy or a disaster movie hero, Heston brought depth and authenticity to every role he took on. Beyond the screen, his political journey, from civil rights champion to conservative icon, demonstrated his ability to evolve and remain true to his principles. Charlton Heston's legacy is one that transcends film, cementing him as a cultural figure whose influence continues to be felt. Through his groundbreaking work in cinema and his bold choices as a public figure, Heston remains a symbol of the power of dedication, conviction, and the courage to stand for what one believes in.